At a time when the NHS is practically on its knees, like the rest of our country, frankly, and the NHS is now hiring nurses at £2,000, it's extraordinary that the top executives, all this bureaucracy, the bureaucrats, are on astronomical salaries, 222,000 and so on. Why? What have they done that is so spectacular? They certainly haven't saved the NHS. They certainly aren't making it work any better. So what justifies this phenomenal salary? And meanwhile, people are worried about complaining. Why? Worried about complaining because if you complain, then maybe this takes up valuable time and the proper service of the NHS cannot be done. I noticed that the person who does all the paperwork in my local surgery is one of the doctors, not the bureaucrats. It's quite extraordinary. And oh, if you complain, there's an endless amount of paperwork that goes nowhere, even if there's an admission of fault. So a complaint isn't the way forward. The way forward must be some sort of reform. And that reform should be a removal of much of the bureaucratic nonsense in the middle of the NHS. We need to get back to a leaner, sharper, and more functional NHS. Less paperwork and more efficiency. What we've got at the moment is paperwork which is duplicated and duplicated to the point where it makes no sense. A while ago, I needed a copy of the first report that I got when I was diagnosed with cancer. The bit which said that I had a T3 cancer, a T3 tumour. And I went to my local GP and I asked for that paperwork. What I got back was incomprehensible and was certainly not any sort of reflection or any imitation of the paperwork I was handed out originally, to the point that actually I cannot understand it. And this is nonsensical, quite nonsensical. So more than that, when I asked for it, I was told all I had to do was go downstairs and request it. A month later, I got a message on my phone saying that I had to make that request in writing. This is nonsensical. Utterly, utterly nonsensical. It would have been better for me not to have wasted the time. You know, there comes a point where you just have to say, I just want a copy of what I had in the past. What I had in the past was taken by the hospital. Why can't I get what I had in the past? Because that bureaucracy is so mangled, comes in so many different forms, a paper form, a digital form, and a form that I'm supposed to see, a form I'm not supposed to see, and all this sort of nonsense, that in the end, nobody knows quite what is to be accessed. And nobody has quite the same information. This is crazy. And this is why the NHS is creaking. Added to which, of course, Brexit has really not helped. I would love somebody to tell me exactly the advantage of Brexit. I must confess, I didn't vote for Brexit. I thought that there were problems with Europe, and it would be interesting to fix them. But Brexit was not one of my solutions. However, as we've got Brexit, you know, we play the hand we've been dealt. And Mrs. May, Boris, both promised to make Brexit work. How? How has Brexit worked? We are struggling to survive. And we have imposed sort of a trade ban. And we have isolated ourselves as an island from everywhere. And at the same time that we need people to come and help us, we are preventing migration, and we are using xenophobic language. It doesn't make any sense. It's not a joined up system. And I'm sure there are ways to make Brexit work, but Suella Braverman is certainly not one of them.